You're watching another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. As Ukraine braces for one of the hardest winters in its war-torn history, power cuts of up to 12 hours in Kyiv and regions across the country are becoming routine. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says Ukraine plans to order 27 Patriot air defense system units from the United States and borrow more from allies to stop the Blackout blitz. Joining us today on TVP World to unpack the crisis is Mark McNamee, a co-founder of the Ukraine Business News Network and expert on Ukraine's business and security environment. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me.
So can you help us illustrate how deep is the blackout crisis in Ukraine right now, and what does 8 to 12 hours of blackout cuts in Kyiv really mean for daily life as well as the war effort?
Sure, it's quite problematic. So in short, well, look, it's been the last 3 days. Russia had the massive attack on Friday night going into Saturday, and then subsequent attacks in different parts of the country after that. But the big one being on Friday night into Saturday. And in that attack afterwards, since then, around the country, there's been extended blackouts, like you mentioned. But in Kyiv here specifically, we've been dealing with 9 hours roughly of no electricity, Saturday, Sunday, today, and that's what's expected for the rest of this week. But what is it like? So you have to plan your day very well. This morning, getting up, and we had electricity when we woke up. There wasn't any in the middle of the night, and then got notification that we wouldn't have it starting at 9 a.m. It actually went out at about 8:30, and then it was out from 8:30 until about 5 p.m. or so. And we've had electricity currently and to this moment, but it's also, and your viewers and you should also know that the schedule says that the electricity should be going out here in the next 10 to 15 minutes again until well into the morning. So yeah, it's very problematic, of course. Fortunately, we do have we have a boiler in our case. The homes, like my home specifically, fortunately we have gas stoves, but that's obviously majorly problematic. Not having elevators is a huge problem, considering how many of the residences, people living in apartment buildings, and elderly people living on the 10th floor or the 12th floor and above, people with children, obviously getting strollers in and out of elevators, or obviously you can't take the elevator, so carrying the stroller down and then carrying the baby down separately. So I mean, just when you think about all the nuances, all the things we take for granted, of course, in terms of just having electricity, when you don't, it's a problem. Throwing away food, of course, as food sits in the refrigerator for 9, 10, 11, 12 hours and isn't being cooled. And so and the list goes on and on and on. Right. The positive news, though, is that fortunately, internet does work. Of course, not the Wi-Fi, but the 4G, the 5G around the country, which is really a lifesaver considering people working remotely, hybrid working models and ability to sort of manage life better that way. So that's really the saving grace. And that's been the case the last couple of years here. Thankfully, being able to access internet during these periods, of course.
Right. Just so our viewers can appreciate what the situation there and how dire it is, that up until the last minute that we started this interview, we're still getting like on and off internet connections as well as the power on Mr. Mark's side. So yeah, just for him being able to come and give us this information is actually, quite rare in and of itself. Now, President Zelenskyy says Ukraine intends to order 27 Patriot systems and borrowing more from allies. How much do you think this will help alleviate the immediate kind of hardship right now?
Well, they need to come soon. This has been the problem. Patriots, we've been talking, not just Patriots, all sorts of categories of offensive and defensive weaponry, but we needed them yesterday, of course. But sure, 27, of course, is a fantastical figure, but get as many as possible in the nearest future, great. The real problem, though, unfortunately, at the end of the day, is that since about May or June of this year, the Patriot systems have become notably less effective. The percentage of intercepted ballistic missiles specifically has gone down quite dramatically. And so That's a big problem, and that's because Russia has learned, right? I mean, after several years of this, they have learned to adapt and adjust the ballistic missiles in such a way that it makes them less easily able to be intercepted. So that's a major problem. That said, of course, having more Patriot systems and firing more interceptor rockets at them can only help. So that's great. But on the other end, the European systems, apparently, French commanders have come out just in the last week saying that the interception rate of the European systems that tried to take down specifically ballistic missiles, the interception rate is actually improved and better than the U.S. Patriot system. So whatever combination of things we can get here, we needed yesterday. There is more on the way. And look, Europe specifically is extremely, just highly incentivized, particularly to buy the Patriot system from the U.S. and then obviously give their own air defense to do this because they can't afford, obviously, another major refugee crisis. And that's what could occur here in the next couple of months, depending on how things go, with the quality and the quantity of Russian projectiles into Ukraine in terms of the drones, the cruise missiles, the ballistic missiles, and then the ability to evade air defense or overwhelm air defenses. The more we can get in air defense, the better. So let's see. I am certain we're not going to see 27 Patriot systems entering Ukraine here in the next month or two, but let's get a couple, and it helps.
Okay, now, Russians' attack on the Ukrainian energy infrastructure seems to be paying off for them, and we're also seeing that the Ukrainians are also hitting Russians' energy infrastructure as well to try to, well, really bring the hurt to where it counts, meaning Russia's war coffer. What does this energy war tell us about the wider conflict's direction at this point?
That we could be hitting an inflection point. And we've been telling clients this. I've been on the show here with you over the last several months that, yes, we watch the front, of course, and the big story of naturally today is Pokrovsk. It's been the story, by the way, for over a year now. Russia wanted to take Pokrovsk at about this time last year and failed to. But for all this talk about Pokrovsk or Kupiansk, a bit farther north there, threats, of taking the rest of Donetsk and Kharkiv, et cetera, the air war, and specifically the technological war going on in the air, is maybe where our focus should have been the last couple of months, because we could be hitting sort of a technological inflection point in terms of these attacks, and it's unclear who exactly would win. But that something could give here to tip the scales one way or the other as we enter the fourth year of war, because of the air war specifically, not the naval war, not the land war, not to ignore those things, of course, but the air war specifically. And as you mentioned, we've already discussed Russia's successes within Ukraine, and how problematic this can become, of course, this winter, and so many variables that can impact how bad it gets or what can be preserved for Ukraine and to sort of get through the winter as best as possible. But on the other hand, Russia is struggling quite significantly, and they're going to be tested. Will we see blackouts in Moscow this winter? Very possibly. A major change in things is Trump's support since the end of August to provide the long-range intel for targeting and guiding Ukrainian drones and missiles into Russian territory, which has had a massive effect. We've seen basically on average, almost every other day, Russian energy infrastructure hit and damaged, even destroyed. So with some great effect, almost every other day. That's the pace, and that's only going to get worse. Ukraine's productivity continues to improve. They're taking out a lot of air defense in occupied parts of Russia, occupied parts of Ukraine, in Crimea, in other areas. Hit long-range strikes, hitting, Ufa way out east, hitting north, Pskov, towards St. Petersburg. So Russia's in a lot of trouble here as well, and then we'll see their resilience tested. Are Russians really ready to suffer through this, what is fundamentally unprovoked, unnecessary war, and start struggling, not having heat, not having light for several hours a day? And this, again, it should just only get worse. So again, will this all happen? It's unclear. But the next couple of months here, to think that this war is stagnant, there's nothing to follow anymore, it's been 4 years of war, we're just going to be fighting forever, is not the way to be viewing things. We could be hitting an inflection point and a strategic turning point here in the coming months. So obviously, let's root for Ukraine, but both sides have their vulnerabilities.
All right, and it also seems like, Ukraine does have its allies to help out as well. Do you think that the international partners, as well as Ukraine's friends, are doing enough when it comes to helping supply with energy? And what role do you think that it has been playing so far?
Yeah, it's been helpful. They've provided some, of course. Ukraine's boosted the gas imports quite significantly. That is very positive, naturally, but that's not quite enough. And the electricity, the direct electricity imports as well. So this all helps, but fundamentally, the country has to be as self-reliant as possible, and that's what's concerning. Again, these moments here, including just this past weekend, are quite potentially pivotal. Russia actually attacking the nuclear facilities, Rivne.
All right. It does seem like we have lost our guest. Again, the situation in Ukraine is very dire, kind of illustrated by the situation and how the interview is actually cut off due to the situation right there. So we had to call it, but in the meantime, for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.